Today, we're going to take a look at the HP 2133 MiniNote PC. It was originally released in 2008 for Windows Vista, XP, and SUSE Linux Enterprise Desktop. It has a 92% of a full-size keyboard, which is also spill resistant, and it has mouse buttons on the side of the touchpad as opposed to above it. It features a webcam and built-in speakers as well. It also has Wi-Fi functionality. We'll go over the physical features of the device first. The left side has a VGA output, along with a USB port and 3.5mm connections for headphones and microphones. The back of the device is where the battery connects to. There are no inputs and outputs on the back. The right side has a power adapter jack, an Ethernet port, another USB port, an SD card reader, and an express card slot for more peripherals. Here's a quick look at the bottom of the laptop. You can see the model information here. The front of the laptop has a slider for power, and also a slider for enabling and disabling the Wi-Fi network interface. I inserted a USB drive with Vintoy installed on it into the laptop. This allows me to boot from multiple operating systems at once. Hitting F9 during the initial startup takes you to the boot media selection screen. I picked Ubuntu version 22 just to see what it would do, and as I thought, it didn't work at all. This is just that old that it doesn't function at all. It just shows this blinking cursor. So then I went back and picked Windows XP, but after running it through the initial setup check, it blue screened. This is most likely a misconfiguration on my part with Vintoy. So in the meantime, I went with Ubuntu version 16 to see if it would run on the laptop, and as I got to the installation type screen, I did not see a hard drive available. The 128GB device is the installation flash drive, so that one wouldn't work. After this, I went into the BIOS to confirm that I could not see any hard drives. There's a cool blue animation along the top of this menu. I don't see any drives listed in the boot orders, so that means I may have to check out the hard drive next. Before we do that though, here's a quick look at the power supply that I am using for this device. To get to the memory and hard drive, first remove the battery, and you'll see 3 screws along the back where the battery was. Remove these screws. Next, you'll pop the keypad out. You'll see the RAM and an enclosure for the hard drive. To remove the hard drive, there are 3 screws, 1 along the bottom and 2 more near the memory. Remove these and pull the cable out from the main body of the laptop. Be careful when you pull it out. There's a little tab that you can pull, which should slide right out when you use that. So I got this laptop from a friend of mine that found it in the trash, and they tried to get it working before and installed this Samsung SSD in there. This one was not original with the device. I just wanted to throw that in there in case you were confused. After unplugging this SATA and power connector adapter, you're good to swap out the drive. I have this random 500GB hard drive just laying around, so I'll use this one. Plug the adapter into the new drive and place it back into the enclosure. Place the screws back into the enclosure with the hard drive and plug it back into the board. Before I put everything back together though, I'm going to see if it works. And sure enough, the laptop sees the new drive. It also appears in the Linux install screen, so we'll let it install. And it looks like it worked. I was having some display issues. I figured that I can look at that later though. At this point, I reassemble the device, put the 3 screws back in on the enclosure, and snap the key bed back in. After this, screw in the rear 3 screws, and it should be good. Before we get into the software part of it, here's a quick look at the battery. Please note that the laptop does not need the battery inserted to work. If you plug the power directly into the laptop, it functions normally. There's also a cool status bar button on this battery to show how much it's charged. So I started to have some issues with Ubuntu version 16 with performance. I knew this laptop didn't meet the minimum recommendations for Ubuntu 16, but I wanted to give it a shot anyway. It hung up here. So at this point I decided to go back and install Windows XP on it instead. I used a separate 8GB drive for this. Here are the settings I used with Rufus to get it working. The only thing I really had to change was the Rufus master boot record with BIOS ID setting. It's not set to the default value. I found this solution online. And here we are. I see a 500GB hard drive, and we'll do a quick install on it. And it looks like we're able to boot into it. Unfortunately, there are still some issues. HP has driver downloads on their website for XP for this device, so I installed a bunch of these. They will get the webcam, sound, graphics, display, and more working. Notice the larger resolution after the install of the display driver. And sure enough, we have sound. Now that's classy. For fun, I installed a shareware version of Doom. Don't follow these instructions. There are probably better ways to do it. I was just kind of messing around, as you can see by the graphics. But hey, at least the sound is working. And here's a quick look at the webcam. It seems pretty basic. There are photo, video, and microphone options, and some settings for changing the resolution as well, but this probably won't run OBS. And here's a quick look at the DirectX diagnostic tool to show some of the specifications. It only has around 2 GB of RAM and a 1-core 1.6 GHz processor. It's not going to be running anything great anytime soon. The battery is pretty easy to insert and remove. It slides into the back like so. To remove it, move these sliders inwards and it comes right out. And that's it. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more videos.